I'm Connor Old, and this is Old's Oscar Countdown. And today we're going to be looking at the best documentary category. So, welcome back, guys. We've had a long journey so far, and things are starting to sort of come up again. Golden Globe nominations have been announced, SAG nominations have been announced the day of recording this. Things are happening. I can't wait until we see the winners and get close to Oscar season, but I'm happy because we're getting close, and I believe it's in January, 20th, late January, where the Oscar nominations will be announced, so all of our accumulations will finally become, and essentially we get to see what this whole journey was about until the Oscars in February, of course. Now, what I'm going to do, if you're new to the show, essentially every single week I go down different category for the 2017 Oscars. I predict nominations. After that, I'll predict once the nominations are announced, I will predict the winners of each category, and it's sort of just a daily, not daily, but weekly sort of Oscar roundup in terms of looking at other categories and trying to pick my own decisions. And based off that, I decided who I think is going to make it and who I don't think is going to make it. So right now, I'm going to read off the list, and then I'm going to say my definites and then possibles, and analyze in depth every one. So we have OJ, Made in America, Wiener, 13th, Tower, Life Animated, and for my possibles, I Am Not Your Negro, Tickled, Camera Person, and Fire at Sea. Okay, so the first one, OJ Made in America. Right now, I'll probably say this is my number one. Recently, I just read a great article by Tom McCarthy from The Hollywood Reporter where he listed his top 10 movies of the year, and OJ Made in America was his number one. Now, this is a 7-part series documentary, so it's a whole long documentary. And OJ, we've seen a lot this year in terms of TV with American Crime Story. And looking at that, but this is a different one in terms of it's a documentary. First of all, of course, it's a documentary category, and it's a 7-part series. So it's not necessarily just about the OJ, but more of the LAPD and the black culture during that time. So I haven't seen it yet. This is on my list right now to see. I can't find it. I've been looking for it really hard. I cannot find it though. But that's on my number one list, and right now I think that's going to do well, just because I've heard so much buzz and heard so much great things about it. And OJ is a great topic to explore, and this 7-part documentary series gives them longer time than a regular documentary to sort of look into each aspect of not just O.J. Simpson's trial, but more of a sort of a broader look at things, which is super interesting. I think that the Academy will like it and reward it. Next one I see here is Wiener. I have seen this one. This was, of course, the story of Anthony Weiner, and it's just a great documentary story because he had the sex scandal and he was trying to run for New York mayor, so he hired a documentary crew with him. And then as he's running for mayor, what happens? Another sex scandal breaks, and just like his career is ruined again forever. And it's a pretty sad story almost, just documenting this throughout the years. And like when what I like about the documentary the most is that filmmakers were allowed to stay and really capture everything. They use the tagline. I know a lot of people say it's like there's a part in the movie where he says, "Why are you letting me film this?" And that's just such a great line for any documentary because it's like, it's so like it's so much real and so authentic, which is such a great part about documentaries. So much so that they ask the question, "Why are you letting me film this?" There's some problems. People say with Anthony Weiner, maybe he's almost narcissistic enough to hire a documentary crew for his New York mayor, but then again, you have to be sort of narcissistic to become a politician. But what I really like about this is that even when everyone left the room, the cameraman stayed in the room with intimate conversations with Anthony and his wife, who I'm forgetting the name of right now. Uh, and I just think this is going to be a good one. Maybe not a win, but especially with the political season, I think you can get in and sort of sneak in there. That will be a little determining factor, I think, that these are so much sort of, a couple of these at least, most of them actually are political in a sense, which documentaries, because they're real life, so they're sort of real in that political sort of saying. The next one I've also seen, which is 13th. This is on Netflix right now. It's from Ava DuVernay, who was the director of Selma, a great Oscar movie that was snubbed, some people say, at the Oscars. But Ava DuVernay, she's a great director, obviously. Selma was a really good movie. I enjoyed that one a lot. And 13th is also a good movie. I enjoyed it. I'm not entirely on the boat with everyone else, but it's an interesting look at something I didn't think of, and how she makes the case of how slavery almost still exists in American culture, just because even when the slaves were freed by Abraham Lincoln in the 1800s, up until today, there's laws that have been putting African Americans in jail and sort of keeping them down. And she goes through that whole history, talking with some very influential figures. There was very astute observation and very smart movie. There's a lot of smart people talking in the movie, which I appreciated, and not just smart people who don't know what they're talking about, but also smart people who were started foundations, who were in that system before, in crime, for what the documentary calls unjust reasons, and comes and sort of speaks on that behalf. And it's a very interesting documentary. It's on Netflix. I'd say give it a shot because it's in the Oscar contention. My next one here is Tower. Now this is about, I believe, 1966 shooting where a student actually walked to the University of Texas and held the campus hostage and killed people using a sniper at the very top of a tower. Now what's super interesting about this movie is that it's almost like in a storybook setting, and how the way they tell the story in terms of it's cell shaded. The how it looks, so it looks like it's an animated movie, or it's a drawing like that's sort of animated, and it's a really interesting documentary, and I think that Oscars are going to reward it because I've only heard great things, and it's a little bit of a unique one, and plus, Oscars, especially if they have people of the Academy who are older, they remember this events, and that's why something like Jackie, I think, will resonate. This I too think will resonate. And once again, it goes to the political viewpoint in terms of just that gun control thing. I've not seen this though, but I've seen actually a little bit of it, like a lot of footage combined from different areas. And so from what I've seen, I really enjoyed it. It's really interesting, and I can't wait to see the full thing because I've heard only but good things. And my last one that I think is going to make it is Life Animated. Now, I think this is going to get nominated just because... Now, Life Animated, this is sort of the opposite to the political ones that shine a viewpoint on it and instead show, like, the happiness of it. And it's about an autistic boy who uses Disney movies to learn how to communicate and write and read. And it's a really heartwarming film. I have seen this. I enjoyed it a lot. It makes you feel good. And maybe they might... I think it will sneak in there. And I think they might even reward for Best Picture just because... They could go with sort of the Oscar so white backlash and sort of them responding back to it with, say, a documentary about the 13th or OG Made in America, which is specifically about the African American community, or they can go with something like Life Animated that makes them feel good, sort of like in terms of the Best Picture race. They can go maybe with Moonlight, a sadder movie, or La La Land, which is just like an escapism. Now I'm just gonna list some of my possibles. I'm Not Your Negro. I've also heard really good things about this. Another black community movie, but I haven't heard too much about it, so I can't comment on it. Tickled. This is an interesting one by a New Zealand journalist who figures out like there's a competitive sport of tickling, and that it's really weird, and he finds out that it's a lot like sketchier than it may seem as on the surface, so like an innocent tickling competition, but it's very serious and sort of a journalistic sort of documentary. I have not seen that, although I want to. Camera Person, I also don't know too much about this, but I do know it's about essentially like someone who's in another country with a camera and sort of just over years and years documenting this footage, which is so great about documentaries that I love, just encapsulating these moments, or this sort of generational thing that we've seen with OJ, where it's such a whole time, even though it is a capsulized thing, and this is, I believe, in a long time, sort of spanning it. So, and I've heard good things, so watch out for Camera Person. I just don't know too much about it. Watch out for The Possibles. I just don't know too much about them necessarily. I know the other one's better, that's why I decided to put them in my nominations, but who knows. The last one is an Italian film. It might even be nominated for, Italy's submission for Best Foreign Film. It's called Fire at Sea, and it's about refugees from Africa and the Middle East coming into Europe. It's supposed to be a very intense documentary, very like, I don't want to, it's hard to say the word, but it's an intense documentary, in a sense, just because you're getting that sort of footage. That's why, I forget the name of the Ukrainian documentary last year that I watched, something to do with fire as well, something like that. It reminds me of that from what I've seen, what I've heard. It's sort of like on the ground sort of footage. Now that documentary from last year, look at the Oscar nominations, it was nominated, I believe there was a Netflix one about the Ukraine, Russia thing from last year, Crimea. That's a really good documentary. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and next week we're going to be doing a combined week, which adapted screenplay and original screenplay. So that should be fun and interesting, because I think that's an interesting category, because normally the screenplay wins the best picture. All right, that's it. Until next time, stay tuned.